What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Boxing Club Podcast. I am yours truly, Bigg Chubbs. And today we have a very special episode for you guys today. We have somebody that has came up with some of the fights, some of the biggest fights that you guys have seen. This man goes way back in the game. He's 1/4 of the Thursdays podcast with Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer Joel Diaz. You got the DAZN broadcaster himself, Mr. 1099, Beto Duran. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Mr. Roberto Diaz.
Thank you so much, Bigg Chubbs. I appreciate it. I appreciate the time, and for all the people listening in, let's have some fun. Let's talk boxing and do what we love.
Let's do it, man. So we're a podcast where everybody knows your accolades, right? But who's the man outside of boxing when you go home? Who is Roberto Diaz? Give us a little bit more about you, where you from, where you come from, how'd you grow up?
Sure. Thank you. I'm a boxing fan, first of all. First and foremost, the passion and the love for boxing. Just like everybody out there listening, would watch the fights at any time, any day, whenever. I used to watch videos of old fights. I grew up in an era which I call one of the greatest eras of boxing in the 70s and 80s. I'm born in San Francisco. My father loved boxing and wasn't involved in it, just loved it, watched it, betted on it, and every weekend growing up, I think that's what got me into it. Was every weekend when there was a big fight, there was a big gathering at home. This is even before the pay-per-views and everything. This was just wild world of sports. Salvador Sanchez fighting Danny Little Red Lopez. But there was a big gathering, and I just saw a party.
Right.
And I was a little kid enjoying it, and every time there was something like that big gathering at home, moved on from Sanchez to Chavez, from Chavez to Oscar, it just grew that it had boxing involved. And obviously the love and the passion for boxing grew there.
And how old were you when?
My first memory of boxing was Muhammad Ali fighting Ken Norton. I had been about 10 years old. Salvador Sanchez fighting Danny Little Red Lopez, about 12 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were like young.
Yeah, but I loved it. I mean, I go in the room and shadow box and then start looking for gyms on my own. And I love baseball. I love football.
We're going to get into that.
But boxing was something about it. It was just something that drove me. And look where I'm at today, working with all the best athletes in the world.
Are you like what everybody else says? Oh, I chose boxing because it's me, right? I have to win because of myself. I have to drive myself that much harder. Was it that? Or were you not a team player?
No. I love team sports. I love baseball. To play, I love baseball.
Yeah.
Boxing to watch was something that drove me. And at the time in boxing, unlike today, at the time in boxing, you go back to the 80s, any division you can pick. And I'll give you an example. Let's just pick the welterweight division. From top to bottom, and this is back in the 80s. Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Wilfredo Benitez, Roberto Duran, Pete Ranzani, Carlos Palomino, Randy Shields, Andy Price. I'm going like 10 guys into that ranking. And if I miss somebody, I'm sorry. Any of those guys could have been world champions. Back then, there was two organizations. But anyone in that ranking that I just named, Pipino Cuevas, if I missed him, anybody could have been a world champion at any time. And they were all world champions, but they all fought each other. Mm-hmm. Go to the lightweights. You had Alexis Arguello, Alfredo Escalera, Rodrigo del Diablo Valdez. I mean, you had so many names. Featherweight, Salvador Sanchez, Wilfredo Gomez, Lupe Pintor, Carlos Zárate. You had so many names in boxing. Why don't we have that today? We do have the names. They're just not as big as stars because a lot of them don't want to fight each other. Right. So we don't see them reaching their potential. growing up in that era to me was amazing. Seeing some of the greatest fights, 15 rounds.
Also, you were able to see back in the
Oh, yeah.
15-round days.
I saw the last 15-rounder, El Maromero Páez.
Oh, he's one of my favorites.
See, there you go. In the time then, a lot of people, oh, he's a clown, he's a this, he's that. But let's look back now today. Maromero Páez was a bad dude.
Yeah, hell yeah, he was.
He could take a punch.
Mm-hmm.
He was aggressive. And he made you miss without moving.
He was a southpaw, right?
No, he was orthodox. He was orthodox, yeah. But he was awkward.
Awkward.
He was not your typical Mexican fighter, which, when they say today, when they say that's the Mexican school of boxing, that's the Mexican style of boxing, that's a misconception because Mexico's had some of the greatest boxers, not just sluggers. Everybody thinks Mexico, oh, they go in, they can take a punch, and they're brawlers. They just keep coming forward. Modern day, Canelo's shown it. He's not a brawler. I mean, he can brawl when he has to, but he's a great counter puncher. He's a great boxer. He'll set up traps. But let's go back in history. Miguel Canto had 15 title defenses, no knockout punch. And most of his title defenses were in the opponent's backyard. Mm-hmm. So to get a decision in the opponent's backyard was meaning, they called him El Maestro. He was the original Maestro. Mauricio Herrera probably saw him fight because Mauricio didn't have a punch either, but he could win fights because he'd make you uncomfortable.
Man, so that goes way back.
That goes way back.
So how was it for you growing up in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, knowing that, the Bay, the Bay is pretty rough, it has the bad stigma. Has it always been that way as when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, it was really bad. When I was a kid, it was really, really bad.
Before we continue, why don't you tell everybody where we're at? And I just want to cheers to you.
Salud.
And I want to thank you for giving us your time. I know you're a busy man. You got a lot of things on your plate. But for you to take the time out of your time for us, we really appreciate you. And hopefully this is the first of many. So,
thank you very much.
Cheers to you.
We're currently in Malbec, Pasadena. Family restaurant, great friends of ours. Anybody that hasn't been here, you want some great Argentine food, come on by in Pasadena on Green Street, Malbec. Ask for Pablo, Luciano, or Roxanne, and they'll take care of you.
There you go, Malbec. So cheers to everybody out there, and cheers to you. Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you.
Ooh, that's some good vino right there. That's very good. Okay.
So growing up in San Francisco, the time when I was growing up as a teenager, gang infested. I grew up, I was born in the Mission District. I will reveal something that I've never talked about, never spoke about, never mentioned. Not because it's an embarrassment, no, on the contrary. You know what, I'm very proud of it, where I grew up, where I came from. I always say this to everybody, all of my young fighters, keep it humble and never forget where you came from.
Right.
We all come from somewhere where maybe it's tough beginnings or something, but it's how you grow, how you come out of it, and
how you overcome it.
And also I don't forget it. So I grew up in the Mission District. I grew up in a time when there was a lot of gang violence, the Cholos. It caught me. I fell into it, not because I needed it, not because most of the time it's from broken homes, only mother, so there's no father figure. I had mother and father, but I liked the lifestyle. I enjoyed.
It was attractive.
It was attractive. It was I didn't look at it as a gang. I looked at it as my friends after school. In the neighborhood of who we got together with, but eventually it turned into that, and then it became very aggressive and a lot of violence, and it was just part of life. Luckily, I had parents that
kept you straight.
Kept on it, sent me to Mexico. My dad lied to me, said, you want a car? I'll buy you a car. Yeah, I was 16 years old.
Hell yeah, I want a car.
Of course I want a car. Nobody at 16, especially in my barrio, had a car. And I said, yeah, what do I need to do? He goes, I have some money in Mexico. If you can go get it for me because I'm sick. When you come back, bring me the money and I'll buy you a car.
Really?
The next day I was gone.
What part of Mexico?
I went to Mexico City originally. My mom's from Mexico City.
Chilango.
My mom's from El DF. Yeah.
All right.
And my dad's from Yucatan. And after about a week or two in Mexico City, I was going crazy. It was just so different, big change. I was living with my grandmother who was already 60, and it was just me, 16 years old. I called my dad and I said, hey, I want to go home. I want to go home. I don't want to be here. Let me just get your money. And he said, no, go to Mérida, and your uncle's going to get the money and give it to you. So I fly from Mexico City to Mérida, Yucatan. I'm there another couple weeks. Now it's different. I'm close to the beach. There's like 8 cousins at the house, so I'm not alone. Every weekend there's something going on. Hey, let's go to this party, let's go to that party. So I'm having a good time. 2-3 months go by. But now I'm getting desperate. I'm like, okay, let me get my money. And I want to go home. I want to buy my car. I want to be with my friends. My uncle finally tells me, hijo, there's no money, there's no car, there's no going back. They told you to come here because you were in a lot of trouble back there, which I was. I was so furious. I was so upset. I'll get on a train right now or on a bus or I'll hitchhike. I'll go home and you'll never see me again. Obviously, that didn't happen. I stayed in Mérida for 5 years, and that helped me. That helped me. I learned a different lifestyle from drinking a kawama on the street corner to going to a club, a discotheque, the mayor's house and having dinner and having
The mayor's house?
The mayor's house in Mérida.
No way.
I was very good friends with the son. So there was 2 different lifestyles. And you know what? I wouldn't change it in the world because today I feel like I'm okay to have tacos on the street corner, or I'm okay to sit down with a president of a company and I feel I can fit in both worlds because of those situations, because I lived here and I lived there.
That's so. When you just said you were mad, right? What was really going through your mind when you're like, hey, aquí te mandaron, te portaste mal, you ain't going home? How much longer did you stay there before coming back home?
I stayed 5 years.
5 years. Damn. That's crazy.
And I adapted to a different lifestyle. To a different dressing.
It's a huge culture shock, right?
It was 2 different people. I was Nato from Sur 13 living in San Francisco, and I was Bobby, porque nobody called me Roberto. I was a teenager. Hey, what's your name, Roberto? Oh, Bobby.
They said Bobby and really?
Yeah.
You know what? We're tocayos, right? That's my name too. And when somebody calls me Bobby, I'm like, hey, that's not my name.
It's funny because anybody here, because everybody that's Roberto, they call Bobbies, right?
Right.
Anybody calls me Bobby here, it's like, no, I'm Robert or Roberto. When I'm in Mexico, because I grew up for 5 years of everybody knowing me as Bobby, nobody called me Roberto or Robert. I'm okay with it.
So
over there,
I'm a junior. So my dad was known by Uncle Bob, but only his nephews were allowed to call him Bob. You know, todos mis primos, Uncle Bob. But if somebody else called him Bob, you better look out. Like, hey, it's Robert or Roberto, nothing else.
And see, today to me, I'm similar, because people say, "What's your name?" I'm Roberto. Also, I'll call you Roberto. No, that's fine. If it's English,
it's Robert.
I'm okay with Robert. If it's Spanish, yes, I prefer Roberto.
So does it bother you when be like, hey, Roberto?
Yeah. I don't like it.
I hate that. Be like, Robert is fine, but if you're gonna say it in Spanish, it's Roberto. Or ¿Qué onda, Robert? No, I don't like that either. Because I leave the T out. It's R-O-B-E-R-R-R. Robert.
Yeah.
Like, no. Roberto.
Yep.
In Spanish.
And Robert in English.
Robert in English. That's it. I'm not Bob. I'm not Bobby. is this or that, and that's it. Or Bigg Chubbs.
100%.
Oh man, so you come back. How are you when you came back from after those 5 years? Did you go back to the Bay?
Yeah, I came back, and I was in my
Hey,
mind
este vino está
reformed.
bueno, eh?
You like it?
Está bueno el
That's
vino.
good. That's good. I'm glad.
Hey, you guys got to come check this out. It's bomb.
Malbec, and the food gets better. I thought I'm reformed after 5 years of living in a fresa world. Okay,
So-
fresa world.
There's fresas in
Oh, yeah.
Yucatan, really?
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was
100%.
just like the F.
No. All over Mexico.
Really?
I mean, one of my best friends was the son of the mayor. All the juniors, their fathers owned the agency, the Ford agency, where they sold cars, or the yacht club, or politics. All juniors.
Juniors mean, by everybody who doesn't know, los juniors or the juniors is the kids of the politicians, the kids
Or the
of
rich.
the rich people. That's what the Mexicans call pues los juniors. The juniors is all the rich kids' kids. Continue. Sorry for cutting you off.
No. So now I come back, and I go back and see the old squad after 5 years. And
Now you're gangster homies.
but they laugh at me.
You're gangster homies, right?
Yeah, I show up with
With Caprice, Capri pants.
Lacoste shirt,
Oh, man.
and maybe was it Sergio Valente or Jordache jeans. I'm going way back.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
I'm 53 now, and they're like, "What the fuck? ¿Qué onda contigo?
¿Qué onda,
compa?"
güey? ¿Qué es eso?
And I'm like, "What?" Believe it or not, within 2 weeks, the Pendleton and the Ben Davis was back on, and I was like,
Did you wear Chucks or Nike Cortez?
no, I was Chucks and Winos. They were called
Winos.
Winos. They were some black cheap shoes.
The steel toe shoes?
No, they were like cheap, $19.99 a pair or something. I don't even know. I think they still exist somewhere around there. But it was the Converse, Winos, or dress shoes, depending on what the dress was. But it was
The
Pendleton
Pendleton
Ben Davis.
and the bald head.
I didn't have the ball head.
Oh no, you had the slick back?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
When I had hair.
So my mom would never buy me like Dickies or Ben Davis or Frisco's or none of that. So I'm like almost 40, so I can say this. I used to go to the swap meet and steal them. And me hice una cajita. I made a little box and I would hide it like by a tree or somewhere. And every day I would go change. And one day I forgot to change. No, my mom whooped my ass. Got you.
What do you mean you forgot to change? You got home?
Coming home from school, because on the way to the bus stop, I would stop at my little spot and change. And then put my clothes and then go to school. And then when I get out of school, I'd go and I'd change and I'd just come back home.
But that day you didn't change.
That day I didn't
You
change.
show up as
I showed up as Chubbs and, oye, tú cabrón, ¿qué traes puesto? Ven pa' acá. I was like, oh, shit. No, man. Sorry, Mom, for putting you on blast. But, yeah, man, my mom whooped my ass that day. Got you.